We need the President of the United States to speak to the issue and say, this is wrong. The President seems unable or unwilling to do that.
Yes, the Speaker of the entire House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, who's now officially going to be targeted by Marjorie Taylor Greene for removal from the Speaker's job because I'm against it. I disagree with her. I believe she's wrong. I believe she's making a mistake. I believe she shouldn't do it. She should be on the side of the party in an election year. And if you want to have debates, have debates. But, the nuclear option. Has anybody used the term nuclear option yet? I'm sure somebody has. Look at that. Also, you see the leftists. They have leftists at the University of North Carolina taking down the American flag to replace it with the Palestinian flag. We should just like the Palestinian flag. We just call it the Palestinian flag. Free, free Palestine.
Viva, viva, Palestine.
Yeah, they do. Viva, viva Palestina. I saw the T-shirt yesterday, too. Viva, viva Palestina. That guy might have been holding a Socialist Workers' Party sign. They've got the Socialist Workers' Party signs, and they've got the Party for Socialism and Liberation signs. And the news media doesn't see any of this. They're like, what? What's that? And you got this, near billionaire from another country who is a Maoist, a self-described Maoist, socialist and Maoist, and he is behind funding a lot of this. Then you have George Soros, who is a Satan-worshiping, death to civilization, Democrat donor. Is he the number one Democrat donor? I think he's the number one Democrat donor. And he's behind a lot of this, and the news media is fine with that because it's not like they're Republicans who are pro-American and don't burn the American flag. They burn the American flag, they burn the Israeli flag, and they carry and hoist the so-called Palestinian flag, and literally the Hezbollah flag, and Hamas has a flag too, and you see the Democrats carrying that as well. They're not on our side. They took down the U.S. flag, Raleigh News and Observer. Pro-Palestinian protesters return to UNC encampment site. Honestly, President Trump should be flying over doing low passes in the 757 and flushing out the latrines over the protest sites. It's not like they're going to vote for him anyway. Oh, yeah, and the lefty on my TV show last night, just amazing. When I was talking about occupying the Hamilton building at Columbia University, I'm like, they're all Democrats. They're not Democrats. They're not Democrats. Really? So, this is a country where we have Republicans and Democrats. So really, they're not voting for Joe Biden? Who are they voting for? RFK? Jill Stein? They're still Democrats. It's the Democrat Party, stupid, to paraphrase James Carville. Amazing. After arrests, pro-Palestinian protesters remove U.S. flag. Put up Palestinian flag on campus quad. You should get what is the line? Is the Eddie Murphy and Trading Places? I may recommend a nightstick officer because, honestly, what these people need is a little bit of, they obviously weren't raised very well. Their parents allowed them to be raised without any discipline whatsoever.
May I suggest using a nightstick, officer? Get out of here!
Yeah, I think, recommending the use of a nightstick is a great idea. Maybe a slapjack. Police officers often have it's a type of blackjack, flattened, the big lead lunk in it. But today is also Mailbag Day. Today is Mailbag Day. And I want to get to the mailbag questions. Let me get to the mailbag questions. Now, Chris and Alexandria actually sent us in the U.S. mail with a stamp on an envelope and handwriting and everything. It's wonderful. Mailbag question. You sometimes say that you have visited many countries around the world. But America is the most fun. Most certainly is. The greatest country in the history of the world, greatest country on the planet now. But the Democrat Party has joined the crusade to destroy America. We know that. Can you expand on this sentiment, and how do we make sure it stays this way? Well, Chris, that is the fight that we are engaged in every day for a great many of us. The fight to make sure that America stays the most fun country in the world. The reason it's the most fun is because we're the freest, and we are the freest country in the world. We're the most prosperous, the wealthiest. We've done almost everything right, but we've allowed the Democrat Party to fester like a pustule on the buttocks of humanity, which is essentially what they are. A carbuncle. They're like, like a goiter. It's a political goiter. That's an amazing thing. So how do we make sure it stays this way? Chris wants to know. And it's true, I've visited 7 continents. And for Democrats out there, there are only 7 continents. If any more pop up, I'm going to want to go there too. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird count, but, maybe 65. I'll put the number at 65 countries, which I know people that have been to a lot more. But nevertheless, I tried, to not hit too many beep-hole countries. But how do we make sure it stays this way? We keep us on track. We really have to take education back. We have to teach civics. We have to teach pro-America. We have to teach the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We need more Hillsdale College and less Columbia University. But it is, and this might be a watershed moment. I doubt it because the information dominance that the left has. But this could be a watershed moment, an eye-opening moment, a life-altering, the trajectory of our nation's history could be altered by the events of this year, with the left being a vile gang of criminal, terrorist-loving, filthy, murdering, thieving, the Democrat Party. How do we make sure it stays that way? We engage in the fight. We're in a fight. We're in a fight for the future of the republic, and that means for humankind and the future of civilization on Earth. Because without the United States of America, this planet is one contiguous totalitarian state broken up among the brutal powers of China and Russia and whatever other beep-hole country comes along. Certainly since World War II, the United States has been solely responsible for civilization remaining on planet Earth. And if we fall, if we falter, then the 21st century will be the Chinese communist century, and tens of millions will be slaughtered, human beings, which the Democrats don't care about. You know what they call 67 million human deaths? Choice. Choice, that's what they call it, choice. And women's health care. They call it women's health care. They don't care about humanity. But the left must be stopped. And that's how we make sure that we stay this way, stay the most fun and the coolest and the most successful and most prosperous country in the world. And that really means the Democrat Party at the election, at the election place, the polling place, we win. We put President Trump in the White House. We put Republicans in control of the Senate and hopefully the House. But I got to tell you, this is no cakewalk this year. It's never a cakewalk because of a corrupt news media, corrupt broader, they corrupted the social media. They've corrupted late night TV. They've corrupted everything they touch. They corrupt. Truth is not their bag. But the fight is on. And honestly, I got to say, Chris, I think the fight has been engaged by millions that even a couple of years ago didn't know that there was a fight to be had. Now, Matthew Foldy, got a question from Matthew Foldy. I know Matthew Foldy. We worked together at Newsmax and on the Right Squad. And he says, well, will Chris's tie pop on the Right Squad tonight? Will Chris's tie pop with the Right Squad tonight?
Tune in and find out.
You got to tune in to 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. on the West Coast to find out whether my tie pops tonight. I think my tie may pop tonight since Foldy put that. Foldy's fun. He writes for The Spectator. He's conservative. He's a lot of fun. Grew up in Maryland, and he's a funny guy. Will the tie pop? Because sometimes there's some talk. Hey, your tie really pops on TV. Hey, your tie is dull. Not a good TV tie. I may have to look for a pop tie tonight from Foldy. Florida Gulf Beach fan. I love the Florida Gulf. Destin, Florida. We've been on vacation, my best girl and I. Great friends in Pensacola, too. Florida Gulf Beach fan says, if you were given the opportunity to go back in time, I love movies about time travel and stories about time travel. I've always loved time travel, even bad TV shows like The Time Machine. Fun, because I just love all time travel ideas. My best girl can tell you this. I'm almost ridiculous when it comes to time travel stuff. I mention it frequently. If you had that opportunity to go back in time and experience a week or more in another era, biblical, Renaissance, American Revolution, etc., which era would you choose? Now, the reality is, because I've been talking about this since I was 10 years old, I would want to travel all over the place. The Renaissance is a great idea. Huge fun. I would want to go to the days of wooden ships. Wooden ships would be fun. But I got to tell you, I would also want to go to the 1970s. I'm kind of an electricity guy. I was raised with electricity thanks to the patriarchy. And, white men, straight white men doing all kinds of great things. You're welcome. But God bless the patriarchy. We all ought to be very thankful every day. We should have Patriarchy Month in America to thank the patriarchy for all that we've done for you. Now just sit down and be quiet over there. But going back in time to a week or more, I would want to go all over the place from biblical. I would want to go to Jerusalem. We've been to Jerusalem, my best girl and I, and I'd want to go to Jerusalem. And if you could go back to the time of Christ and the final days, that'd be an amazing, amazing thing. Amazing. Honestly, the very end of World War II would be an amazing time to be there. You don't have to fight the war, but being there for VJ Day would be a great thing. And one of the things I wrote in response to this, and I wrote all over the place on the thing I did. But going back to the 1970s, I think I was a kid in the 1970s, and we didn't know how good we had it. Boy, did we not know how good we had it. You can ride your Schwinn Stingray, and you're not being kidnapped and murdered, and everything was so much better in the 1970s. And I think I made fun of the 1970s when I was a kid. But now looking back, and also you go to 1976 and put a few dollars into Apple the week they started, that'd be a pretty good thing too. Yeah, so sorry for being all over the place, but I would be all over the place. And C. Geiger, that reminds me of a great Humphrey Bogart movie, Geiger's Bookstore. Is Trump DeSantis the winning ticket? What's the chance that will actually happen? It needs to, for the good of the republic, says C. Geiger. I like DeSantis. He's proved to, and I liked him. I thought he was going to be a real contender, and he turned out to be very flat-footed and got slapped around by Trump and hasn't done a great job. Now, and they're both Florida, and that's a thing with politics. Trump lives in Florida. DeSantis, the governor of Florida, of course. And they say, well, you can't have both people on the ticket from the same state. I never necessarily bought into that, but I honestly think, C. Geiger, that would be a strong ticket. I really do. I think it would be, and DeSantis have to straighten up his political act a little bit. But if Trump, put his arm around his neck and gave him a noogie and said, let's do this, I think they'd kick butt. I do think they'd kick butt. I did think DeSantis would do much better than he's done. I was sort of embarrassed for him. I have 2 more mailbag questions coming up, so don't go anywhere. And a lot more to get to from Mayhem and Biden and Democrats. But if you're looking for the ultimate in comfort and pain relief, let's compare G-Defy shoes to other shoe brands that promise comfort, support, and pain relief. You know, the typical shoe brands, they use EVA soles for cushioning, but G-Defy shoes, well, they go above and beyond with VersaShock technology. I have a pair, I wear them, providing superior shock absorption and energy return. If you suffer from foot pain, knee or back pain, G-Defy's advanced technology may provide you with the relief that you deserve, that you've been looking for. Whether you're an athlete, a busy parent, or just always moving, move, G-Defy shoes offer the versatility and comfort that your feet are craving. So say goodbye to discomfort. G-Defy is your path to unparalleled comfort and pain relief. Visit gdefy.com today. Experience the ultimate in comfort and pain relief at gdefy.com. That's gdefy.com. Use the code CHRIS30, CHRIS30, and you're going to get $30 off your order of $150 or more. Yeah, they're great shoes. Push up on your soles, roll along, walk in. Good shoes. Comfortable. All right, 2 more mailbag questions coming up. And then back to the madness that the Democrat Party has unleashed on the world. They must be stopped. All right, 2 more mailbag questions. Yeah, so I think DeSantis as vice president, he'd be the anti-Kamala, wouldn't he? Now, Thomas Darrell Moody asks, worst case scenario. If Biden wins a second term, that is a worst case scenario. D.C. statehood, packing the Supreme Court, question marks. And Michael Piercy and I were talking about this morning, and we agreed just to start, just to get the ball rolling. They want statehood for D.C. to get 2 more Maoist senators so they can steal every judicial nominee. Statehood for Puerto Rico, and that's ridiculous. And they would push for D.C. statehood and Puerto Rican statehood to lock in 4 more Senate seats that would be left-wing Democrats. They would try to pack the Supreme Court because they're that corrupt, extremely corrupt. They'd have to own the Senate still, and the Lizard King there. This election, democracy is on the line. Democracy itself. And I have one more question I want to get to from Greta coming up. Your question involves Ronald Reagan, I'm happy to say. So one final question coming up. All right, now my last and final mailbag question for this Wednesday from Greta. Question number 1. After Ronald Reagan, which politician from your lifetime do you most respect? That's a tough one, you know. I don't really like politicians too much as a rule. I don't. But I'll get to that. And question 2, after Bozo the clown? Hey, Bozo, cram it, clown. After Bozo and Joe Biden, who's your favorite clown? Who's your favorite clown? Well, that's not a very easy one. I don't know, maybe Jim Carrey. There was Emmett Kelly was the old classic American clown way back when. But I ended up writing Marion Barry. The former mayor of Washington, D.C., who I met a couple of times and who I voted for more than a couple of times because he set back statehood by generations every time he was reelected. It was great. Then it's off to prison and, GDB set him up and the FBI provided crack cocaine on video. I was very involved in that news story, too. But my favorite clown other than Bozo and Joe Biden, I think, has got to be Marion Barry. I'm going to go with Marion Barry. Emmett Kelly when it comes to real clowns. Now, after Ronald Reagan, which politician from your lifetime do you respect the most? And I wrestle with that because I'm not a lover of politicians. I'm like, oh, isn't he great? Ronald Reagan is the exception. He's the risen Yahweh of American politics. But setting that aside, Ronald Reagan, the greatest, great. And maybe we should post another picture of me with Ronald Reagan today. What do you think? I have a lot of different pictures of me with Ronald Reagan from different events and different meetings. Maybe we'll post one of those today. But I've got to say, I had to think about this a little bit. And I decided, and I had to look it up, because Dwight David Eisenhower died in 1969. And I was alive and well in 1969, so that's my lifetime. And I am good because he's just so extraordinary. Eisenhower was just amazing in so many ways, and modest and humble as the great ones were in the good old days. The Supreme Allied Commander of Europe during World War II, smashing Nazi fascism, the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. And now we have the Party for Socialism and Liberation all over these protests in the United States, and the Socialist Workers' Party can't lead to good things with their workers' world. The commies are here, and they call themselves liberals. They're not. But back to this. After Ronald Reagan, who is clearly far and away front-runner, standalone, which politician in my lifetime? And I decided to go with Dwight Eisenhower because of smashing fascism in Europe, coming home, being a great American president, leading civil rights, moving Democrats out of schoolhouse doors. And then there's the interstate highway system. You know, he was president of the United States for 8 years, 2 terms. And then John F. Kennedy became president, and a communist shot him in the head, or the CIA released the papers, but a communist shot him in the head. And Eisenhower was a great president. The national highway system, come on. We can't do an off-ramp in 8 years anymore. And all the eminent domain and the highway, I mean, it changed the world. He saw the Autobahn system in Germany and said, we should have something like that in the United States. And he got it done. And he was calm and soft-spoken and regular Midwestern guy, retired to his hometown, a little house, a little modest house, acted like a normal person. 5-star general, World War II. Come on. Greatest, coolest. And I got to say, because I also wrote down H.W. Bush, World War II veteran, Navy pilot, shot down, rescued by an American submarine. Some of his shipmates were captured by the Japanese, who ate them, literally cannibalized them like barbecue in Haiti. That's a true story. And I always liked W. Bush, too. I know not everybody likes W. Bush, but I always liked W. Bush, and I met him a handful of times. And that's one of the problems when you live in Washington and stuff. And news reporters, it's kind of a bad thing, because I like most people. I like almost everybody that I meet, you know. I like almost everybody. And it's a problem, because I'll meet a politician, and I'm like, well, you know, he's a nice guy or a nice woman, and seems smart and stuff. And then I like him. And that happens a lot in Washington, and then they don't cover people fairly. Now, I always like covering the military and not so much politics, but I covered politics, too, for years. I spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill doing interviews, but enough about me. Let's get back to, because, Ronald Reagan, then I'm going to go Eisenhower, who was not, it's not like I voted for him or he was, in office while I'm talking about news stories or something, but he lived until 1969, and therefore our lifetimes overlap, and I'm gonna make him number 2 to Ronald Reagan. Then number 3 is H.W. Bush. World War II, Congress, CIA director, businessman, family man, humble, modest, jumping out of airplanes for his 80th birthday and skydiving. Just an amazing guy in so many ways. And Marion Barry, number 1 clown after the other things. All right, is that our mail? That's our mailbag. That's the mailbag for the day. Did I get to this one? I got to this one. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got to all the mailbag questions. I know. Let's get back to the Democrats' bag of keep it clean. Keep it clean. That's why they're called. Why you call them a Sacagawea? Because Let's go to soundbite number 1. We haven't gone to soundbite number 1. This is UCLA early this morning in the dark hours after midnight. University of California, Los Angeles, where lots of violence took place because pro-Israel individuals showed up, and it turned into a little bit of a slug fest.
Why are you out here by yourself? Watch behind the
Yeah. A couple of them have big clubs.
Hey, stop!
No, I'm not going to stop. No.
Stop!
Pro-Israel people showed up, and I got to say, it looked like they were spoiling for a little bit of action and a little bit of fighting, and it happened. And there were people getting hit and knocked down and whacked real good, getting whacked real hard. It was violent, and the media will still insist that it's mostly peaceful, just like World War II. I've pointed this out many times during the mostly peaceful era. And we have, but the mostly peaceful era is back, as a matter of fact, because the left is violent and they're going to tell you that they're mostly peaceful, while they, during Black Lives Matter, perpetrated more than $2 billion in damage, injured more than 2,000 police officers, murdered more than 24 people. And the news media told us it was mostly peaceful. I pointed out at the time, Europe was mostly peaceful during World War II. You could be minding your own business in Italy, having a nice lunch with tomatoes and, olives and nice red wine on a beautiful sunny day. Never know that there was a war going on around you because Europe was mostly peaceful during World War II. Problem is, it wasn't really peaceful enough, was it? No, it wasn't. Not even close. And who's my friend? Vinny D. Vinny D in Chicago, listening on the great WLS. Pretty funny. He's watching the video of the fights at UCLA. Said it looks like a couple of ballet dancers swinging purses at each other. Even brawling has been emasculated. Even brawling has been emasculated. And honestly, that's, if you watch the videos, it's largely true. UCLA, they're tearing down the barricades. To the ramparts. The ramparts. Oh, they're cussing. Don't be cussing. There's a funny video of a witness to the mayhem who's calling the police, or I think he's calling the police, and it's his second time calling the police, saying, hey, there's a riot going on here. It's all kinds of mob political violence because the Democrats are pro-jihad and pro-Hamas, and they burn the American flag and carry the Palestinian flag, and they burn the Israeli flag and carry the Hezbollah flag. And this guy's on the phone, and he looks distressed, right? He's stressed out, and he's waving his arm around with his free arm, and he's holding his cell phone, and he's yelling, there's stuff going on here, and they keep hanging up on him. He's calling 911, and they keep hanging up on him.
There's people getting hurt. There are people getting injured, and the police officers left their post. They were here, they left. The security has abandoned this encampment, this riot. Okay, you hung up on me. I called earlier, and you hung up on me. Look, you just hung up on me again.
She just hung up on me again. Well, they don't really care. They don't. They defunded the police, and and then this is kind of great because it took hours for the news media to show up at UCLA. And when I heard this, the security has left the scene. It reminded me of Vito Corleone in the hospital. When his security disappeared and Michael Corleone showed up and he's like, where'd my father's security go? To Captain McCloskey, Sterling Hayden. Everybody remembers that, right? So here's Fox News reporter Jonathan Hunt, who was at the UCLA mayhem in the wee small hours of the morning, in the dark of the pre-dawn hours.
It's taken them 3.5 hours, by the way, to get there since this violence first broke out, which is an extraordinary display of the decision-making or lack of decision-making process from the mayor's office down to the police chief, to the officers who are now on scene, we are told, in full riot gear. And what they appear to be doing for the moment is simply separating the two sides who have been engaged in essentially ongoing battles, as I say, for something like 3.5 hours.
And he said it took 3.5 hours for the police to show up. Now, that's a pretty slow response time, I've got to say, Good thing no one was hanging from lampposts or anything like that. 3.5 hours, and then melee going on for hours as well. Jonathan Hunt, he's an English person.
They have been attacking each other with large wooden poles. They threw
large wooden
firecrackers
poles
at each other. A lot of punches were thrown, brawls going on and on. As you see from the video quite clearly there, it was quite simply campus chaos for 3.5 hours.
Campus chaos. Campus chaos. Throwing fire, and there weren't little firecrackers. I think they're throwing M80s, at which the Democrats have been doing a lot of throwing them at the police during the Black Lives Allegedly Matter riots. BLAM. It's the BLAM. Because, blam. It should be called blam. Yeah, because, they pay no attention to the actual, travesties of black homicide and abortion and stuff. But, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, sure. Maybe to somebody, but not to the Democrat Party of the Confederate States of America. And Jim Crow. Jonathan Hunt.
We saw what was, and we witnessed it. We were live on air throughout 3.5 hours of terrible violence in the middle of a public university campus. And for 3.5 hours, there was not a single law enforcement official on site. I'm pretty sure he meant to say law enforcement official, not law enforcement official. Let's go to number 11. Number 11. So big goings on, such goings on, such goings on. University of North Carolina, they have Democrats there tearing down the American flag and putting up the Palestinian flag. And let's go back to Columbia University, where the police showed up in force last night, and riot gear and body armor and helmets, and they went through the second-story window of Alexander Hamilton Hall, where communists had taken over. And there was no shooting. There was no Kent State moment, as that mental case woman earlier was talking about. But never mind that. Here is NYPD. He is the Jeffrey Maddrey, a senior-ranking NYPD official at Columbia University yesterday.
We will not go onto that property until we get a specific request for Columbia University. And as of right now, we do not have that request.
It's a private.
This is where we stand right now.
It's a private university, and they had to wait for the Democrats there to say, oh, no, we hate the police. We defund the police. We think the police are going around shooting black people, and they're racists because we're Democrats. And but honestly, the this woman made me laugh out loud, I've got to say. The NYPD deputy commissioner for the NYPD in charge of counterterrorism and intelligence, and her voice just made me laugh. My best girl and I, this is the woman, it's a very senior post, counterterrorism and intelligence. What does that have to do with taking over a school building?
So we are in ongoing dialogue with officials and, of course, stand ready to come in if we are invited in. And, of course, some of this activity, we would need to review the specific facts to see what charges might be appropriate.
But
in particular, for folks who are unaffiliated with the university, it certainly looks to be like a trespass situation. And depending on their involvement, and the video will help us understand the full suite of their activity, there may be charges associated with the property destruction and the vandalism as well.
The full suite of their activity. It's the full suite of their... Now, this woman, she's like her kind of bug-eyed and her eyebrows are up in the air, and she sounds like she's talking about band camp.
And one time at band camp, we weren't supposed to have pillow fights, but we had a pillow fight, and it was so much fun.
Rebecca Weiner is the woman we were just listening to, the deputy commissioner of the NYPD for counterterrorism and intelligence. And she's telling you it might be a trespass. Really? Well, I remember Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed for trespass on Capitol Hill. She was shot and killed by a Democrat police officer, Lieutenant Byrd. Lieutenant Byrd shot and killed Ashley Babbitt for the alleged crime of trespassing. Rebecca Weiner, with her band camp terrorism and intelligence. Well, maybe there's trespass, and maybe you can charge him with breaking a window or something, but I don't know. And, band camp is mostly about sex. That's the thing. The Democrat Party is on a tear with their pals of the Socialist Workers Party and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Hamas is in their corner. Iran is in their corner. The Communist Party of China and Putin are in the corner of the Democrat Party. And the news media is the most corrupt institution in the United States of America. Thank God for me. President Trump is actually campaigning today, a day away from court, and Wisconsin and other places. President Trump talking about what we're seeing on college campuses.
Well, I'm watching Jewish politicians abandon Israel, and I've seen it, and you've seen it. Where is Schumer? Why isn't Schumer speaking up? He was always out there in front because he's looking at votes, I guess, and I guess he's looking at maybe more votes than represent Israel, but that has nothing to do with it. You have to stop this war on terror.
That sounds like a good idea. President Trump, he speaks his mind. He speaks like a regular person. He's from New York.
We have to let Israel complete their war on terror. It's a horrible thing, but they have to do it, and they have to do it fast, and we have to get back to order. And people have to respect law and order in this country. They don't respect it anymore. The United States worldwide is not respected anymore, and we have to gain back that respect from other countries quickly.
That is a very important thing. The United States is, we play a role in the world. We're not Belize. We have global responsibilities. I say that a friend of mine lives in Belize. He listens. It's but it's a wonderful place, of course. But they don't have global responsibilities. Nicole Wallace is a former Democrat. She used to, a former Republican. She used to pretend to be a Republican. Now she pretends to be a journalist at MSDNC. She hosts a show there. She says, oh, no, if Trump gets elected, we won't have a press anymore. There'll be no free press. There'll be no White House Correspondents' Dinner.
At this exact time next year, depending on what happens in November, 7 months from now, we can't say for certain that there would even be a White House Correspondents' Dinner or even a free press or even a White House press corps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Of course, if Biden wins, might be Jihad Central in the White House.